We're going to continue with Daf Zayin Amud Aleph 17a1. Okay, so the Gemara was basically now coming and saying as follows. Okay, Reisha, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, V'Sefer Rabbanan. Are you going to tell me that the beginning part, right, that a yachid, that an individual or two people, they have until Betzatayim, right? That's only according to Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, that he says the mechitzat sheti or erev does not help for a yachid more than a Betzatayim. However, though, at the end, right, when we're talking about three people, it becomes a shayara, and then we give them all tzor kol tzorchan. That's according to Shitat Chachamim, that they give them kol tzorcham, and not like according to Shitat Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, that you go up. You remember you said, Ben Adam echad o shtayim ze betzatayim, then you go until 4, then 6. You remember you continue going up by 2s. So therefore, how could it be? Why is it that the Reisha of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda v'Sefer Rabbanan, right? Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, yeah? So answers the Gemara in, yes, we are going to say that. Why? It says, Mishum dekay avua b'shitatev, which means like this. Even though the Seifa, right, I paskin in the name of Shmuel like Chachamim, because they are the Rabbim, nevertheless in the Reisha, we paskin like Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda, his father, remember, this is Rabbi Yosef bar Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda, his father, was also holding in the same Shita as well. Which comes out that a yachid or two people, it does not help a mechitzav sheti or erev only until betzatayim. Once after betzatayim, it doesn't help anymore. Okay? So basically, he also becomes a rabbim. It's not only just an individual arguing, it also becomes Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda. They both hold, right, like that. This is actually a proof to a very famous question that they ask, is that do you count it as two different shitot or not? For example, the Tur and the Rosh is father and son. Do I count it like two different shitot, or do I say, no, probably the son goes like the father, so it's the same thing, right? Or, for example, they ask the same question between a student and a rabbi. If the student and the rabbi hold the same position, do you say that it's considered two different poskim, or do you say it's the same thing? Because anyway, the student is going to paskin like his Rebbe, right? So there's a famous question about that. But here it's mashma that it's the fact that they're both going in the same opinion, it becomes like already not an individual anymore. It's not just Rabbi Yosef Yehuda against the Chachamim. It's now like two, so therefore we pass it like that. Amar of Gidal Amar Rav. Says of Gidal in the name of Rav. Okay? Here we're talking about what happens what do you give for three people. So it says, Shlosha bechamesh asurim. Right? Sometimes it happens that when you're going to have three people, it's going to be asurim letaltel, even in a chamesh seim. Okay? Besheva mutarim. And sometimes it's going to happen that even in 7, it's going to be permitted. Okay? So we're going to have to say, Amruleh, they told him, Amarav Hachi, what did Rav say such a thing? How can it be that you have 3 people, and sometimes in 5 scene it's going to be prohibited, and sometimes in 7 scene it's going to be permitted? What does that mean? So Amar Lehu, he went and he told them, Oraita nevie uktuve de Amarav Hachi. He's swearing on the Torah, Nevi'im and Ktuvim. Oraita is the Torah, Nevi'e uktuve, that's what Rav said. So Ravashi says, my kashya, what's the question? Dilma hakigama, this is what it means to say. Hutzrechu leshesh v'kifu b'sheva. What happens if the 3 people, they needed, right, that's what it says over here, Hutzrechu for 16. But they need a kef for 7. Okay? But not with the best mechitzot, obviously. So then afilu b'sheva mutarim. What's going to happen that even for 7, it's going to be permitted. Why? Because since at the end of the day, there's not betzatayim, which is open, right? Which means that's, right, that's what he's saying. So who taught the entire thing? Because remember, how much is left empty? Only 1, right? Because they needed 6. So now what did they do? They went around 7. So how much is left over? 1. It's not betzatayim. The fact that it's not betzatayim, they're allowed to use all the 7. However, though, lo tzruchu le'lechamesh. But what happens if they only needed 5 scene? And they went around 7 scene, so then even the 5 scene is going to be prohibited. Why? Because since you have 2 bet satayim, that's what the bet satayim is, right? Well, since you have a bet satayim, satayim means 2. That's why it's bet satayim. Seah, bet seah is 1, so the satayim is 2. So once you have 2, right, seah is free, that's a bet satayim free, the mechitzot do not help to fix it whatsoever, and the entire thing is disqualified. So it's incredible, right? If you do 1 extra, and then you come and you're allowed to be metaltel in the entire thing, even in the 1 extra. If you did 2 extra, the entire thing, even the 5 that you wanted, becomes disqualified. So it says the Gemara, that which we learned from Vachaloye Betzatayim Panui, my love Panui Madam. Just 1 second, but I thought when it says that it had to be Panui, right? What does that mean? That we said that it cannot have a Betzatayim which is free, which is open. Doesn't that mean that it's Panui Me'adam? That it's Panui from a human being? Okay? That's what we thought that the Kavanah was. So it comes out that the Braita is giving Betzatayim Keneged Kol Echad Min Anashim. So even if it wasn't their Tzorech Bichlal, so therefore the Mechitzot are not going to become Pasul if you have more than Betzatayim. So for example, let's say you have Shmona Seim, right? 8 Seim. And you have for 3 people, right? It should be okay. Okay? Because if each one you're going to come and you're going to give that amount of people, that amount of numbers. Here it says, Afilu bet Shmona Seim pachot mashu. Right? It has to be a little bit less than 8. So it says the Gemara, lo, panui mi kelim. It doesn't mean it's panui from human beings. It means it's panui from kelim, which means we're talking about that we're giving the entire shetach, the entire space, right, that they actually need it according to the amount of utensils that they had. As long as they don't have a betzatayim, which is empty of kelim, and you don't need it at all. Because if not, then again, if you have betzatayim empty without anything, so then it's going to become a problem. Itmar, it was stated, shlosha, when you have 3 people, that they came and they were shovet on Erev Shabbat, right, in a place which was more than betzatayim, umet echamen, and one of them dies on Shabbat. Yeah, so imagine you have 3 people, one of them drops dead, so now you only have 2. What's going to happen? Or you have 2, right? You have 2 people, then and now you have another people came on Shabbat, and then they became a shayra. What's halacha? So Ravuna of Rav Yitzchak, Chadamar Shabbat goremet, Chadamar diurin gormi. So there's a machlok between Ravuna and Rav Yitzchak. One of them says that the Shabbat is gorem, which means that the place is on the time of the Knisat Shabbat. When Shabbat enters, the onset of Shabbat, that's what's kovea, what are they allowed to carry. So now, even in the middle of Shabbat, if somebody dies or if people are added on, doesn't matter. It doesn't change the numbers. Okay, V'chadamar, one of them says, Diorin Gormin. What do you mean Diorin Gormin? Diorin Gormin means the Dayanim goes according to the amount of people, and therefore it all depends right now. So right now they want to do something. Let's count the human beings, count heads. Okay? Tistayem de Ravuna Doamar v'Shabbat Goremet. We want to try to bring a proof that it's Ravuna that he says that the Shabbat is Goremet. The Amar Rabba Bezrabba says, Be'ai Meravuna, Bai Meravuna, I asked from Ravuna, Bai Merav Yehuda, and I asked from Yehuda, Irev Derech Apetach. If they did an Eruv on 2 chatzirot together, because of a petach that was that was already there. Okay, v'nistama petach, and then they closed the entrance. Or derech halon, or through a window, and then they was closed the window. Ma'u watzalacha. Amarli, he told me, Shabbat, hoil ve'otru, utra. So this is a proof that the fact that he said that the second that it's already Shabbat, and on the onset of Shabbat it was there, and it's good, what happens afterwards I'm not worried about. So I guess we're going to see that. No, okay. I think it's only just maybe 1 or 2 pictures. So says the Gemara, okay. Okay, fine. Why don't we just say that Ravuna and Rav Yitzchak are arguing in the machlokah between Rav Yosef and Rav Yehuda, right, and Rav Yitzchak? Rav Yosef and Rav Yehuda. Meaning Ravuna and Rav Yitzchak are arguing in the same machlokah Rav Yosef and Rav Yehuda. Why? The Tanam was we learned in the Mishnah later on. What happens if you have a chatzer that was open on 2 sides? So the truth is you have a picture in the art scroll, but it's not color. So I'll show you the picture it says here. Everyone sees it? It's in the corner. It's breached in the corner. So that's shteru chotea. Right here. I don't know if you can see it. Everyone sees it?
Yes.
So that's shteru chotea, which means that the wall was breached on 2 sides, right? Because since it was the corner, it gets 2 sides. So what happens? So that's the next picture, which is again, now this is a house, right? Which was Look at the house right here. This part of the house, it broke the wall, and now it's open on two sides. So the exact same halacha. Okay, I don't know why we don't have those pictures. Maybe they just left it for later on. But it says, "V'chen bait shenifratz mishte ruchotav, v'chen mavui shenitlu korotav o lechayav," that it was taken off the beams or the side posts. Okay, we don't have a picture. Mutarin, it is mutar, right? Leota Shabbat for that Shabbat. V'asurin tadvo. However, in the future, it's going to be prohibited unless they fix it. Tivre Rabbi Yehuda, these are words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yosef, Omer Rabbi Yosef says, "Im mutarin leota Shabbat, if it's going to be permitted for that Shabbat, mutarin lati lavo, it's going to be permitted for the future as well. V'im asurin lati lavo, if it's going to be asur for lati lavo, asurin leota Shabbat, so then it's going to be asur for that Shabbat as well. So why don't we just say Lema Ravuna Damar Rabbi Yehuda? Why don't we just say Ravuna says like Rabbi Yehuda? That basically what happens is according to them, it always goes about the onset of Shabbat, and Rabbi Yitzchak holds like Rabbi Yosef. I know that it goes according to right now. So Ravuna is going to tell you no. Go even according to Rabbi Yosef. And when did Rabbi Yosef say over there to do a tiltul on Shabbat? Because there's no mechitzot, right? Which means that already during the time of the Knisat Shabbat, there's no mechitzot anymore. So therefore, that's why it's a big chisaron and it's a problem. But over here, it's new mechitzot. You still have the mechitzot. It's just you don't have the people according to the mechitzot, which is like a sidestep. But you still have the mechitzot. Rabbi Yitzchak is going to tell you that I even hold like Rabbi Yehuda. Why? When did Rabbi Yehuda say there that it's going to be permitted to be metal the entire Shabbat? Because the diurim are still there, right? That means even though there's no wall, there's still diurim. But over here, in our case, there's not enough diurim anymore, which means that they actually changed from the onset of Shabbat. And therefore, because of that, you cannot make dependent the machloket of Rav Huna and Rav Yitzchak in Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosef. Two dots. The Chachamim say echad mishnei advarim, that one of the two things, which means or sheti or erev, is considered a mechitza and it's going to be permitting you. Remember, the sheti was the horizontal perpendicular on the wall. So says the Gemara, Chachamim anu Tanakama. It's the same shita as Tanakama, which means the Chachamim that are arguing Rabbi Yehuda, right, and the Chachamim arguing Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yehuda, they said the same thing. That basically, or sheti or erev is going to be okay. So answers the Gemara, no. The difference between them is yachid b'yishuv. What happens if you have an adam yachid in the yishuv? Okay, that he fixed the mechitza with the mechitza gruot. So the Chachamim, which are arguing in Rabbi Yehuda, they actually permitted mechitza grua, even for an individual, right? But he says, ach zerak beholech b'derech, but that's only if he's traveling, but then he's like a shayra, that they were actually more mekel. The Chachamim that argue in Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yehuda, they hold that this mechitza is considered mechitza gemura, and therefore it's going to be permitted even in a yachid that is found in the yishuv. So there is a difference between the two different chachamim, the one which are arguing on Rabbi Yehuda and the one which is arguing on, what was the second one? The one which was arguing on Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, Mishnah Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. Arba'a dvarim patru b'machaneh. There are four things that the rabbi is exempted in the machaneh, which is basically that they're going out to war. Okay, even without pikuach nefesh. So the Mishnah says that there are four things that the rabbi is permitted in a machaneh, in a camp which they're going out to war, even if there's not going to be pikuach nefesh right now. Number one, the chayalim, they're mevi'im etzim, they're allowed to bring wood, okay, mikom makom, from anywhere, right? So they're allowed to bring wood, and we're not going to suspect that it's considered, right, legezel. Number two, Piturim mirchitzat yadayim. They're not obligated in nitilat yadayim before the seudah. Number three, midemai. Right, from the Takana Chachamim, they're not allowed to eat demai until they start coming and separating the Trumot Masrot. That was permitted. Number four, mila'arev. They did not need to do eruvei chatzerot. So in all these things, these are four different halachot which the rabbis were lenient on people that went out to war. Says the Gemara, we learned on the right time. When you have a machaneh which is going out to milchamet harishut, they are permitted in stealing dried pieces of wood. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tumah says, they can also camp anywhere where they want, even in a field with somebody else. Boom, they just set up tent. And wherever they were actually killed, that's where they're going to be buried. Okay, mutarim begezel etzim mivashim. He says once again, this is the takana of Yoshua bin Nun. Right? What does that mean? The Amar Mor, but Mor says, there were 10 conditions that Yoshua made when they came into Eretz Yisrael. Shiu mar'in b'chodashim, that they were permitted to go to take the animals, right? Lir'ot b'yar shel chavero, and that he's not going to be makpid, right? Because basically, anywhere, if you have a forest, nobody's going to come and start plucking the fruits from the forest. So you could take your animals to the forest and have them eat there. They could also take the etzim misedoten shel acherim, right? Why? Because he says nobody's going to use these pieces of wood in your field. So therefore, it's permitted for everybody. It's not only just some for people that are going out to war. So answers the Gemara, no, hatam behizme v'higeh. They were talking about types of shichim kotzniim, which have like thorns, right? That they're not chashuv. So therefore, the balabait, he doesn't care about these things. But hacha, here we're talking about b'shar etzim, like etzim chashuvim. So therefore, that's why that's the inami or another answer. Hatam over there, it's talking about mechubarin lekarka. Right there, it's already mechubar lekarka, and therefore, since it's connected to the ground, the balabait is not going to think about it. However, though here we're talking about that they're already tlushim, so here technically he could also use it for firewood. So still, we said that it's going to be permitted because these people are going out to war. Inami, a third answer. Hatam belachin. There we're talking about when it's even lach. Hacha biveshim. There we're talking about since it's lach, it's right, so it's moist. So therefore, he's going to be masechta. But once they're dry, now it's actually good for firewood. So then in this case, I would say that it's going to be prohibited. Kamashmalan, it's going to be permitted. We also said in the Mishar, Yudam ben Tema, Yudam ben Tema says, they're allowed to camp anywhere where they want. Wherever they're going to be killed, that's where they're going to be buried. Pshita, obviously. I'm saying wherever they're going to be killed, that's going to be buried. Met mitzvah, it's a met mitzvah. The met mitzvah is going to be mikore mekomo. So it says, what are we dealing with? Afal gav, that even though even though that there are people that means he's got yorshim, and people know that they're going to bury him, still he's going to acquire the place where he actually buried. The Tanya was going to the right, is the mitzvah, which is the mitzvah? Anyone that does not have anybody that's going to come and bury them. If there's going to be yorshim that they already know that they're going to call after his death, and then they're going to come, so enza mitzvah, that's not a mitzvah. So met mitzvah karam ekomo. So he says, does a mitzvah, does he actually acquire his place? Tanya will enter the right. Imagine right now you come and you see a dead person found in the middle of the street. In the middle of the Reshut Srati is a Reshut Rabim. Right? So he says, what happens? Put him to the right or to the left. Right? Sadeh bor. If there's going to be, right, on one side a sadeh bor, which means that it's not plowed, right? Ustenid, or a sadeh which is plowed one. Put him in a not plowed one. Right? Because that's obviously going to cause less of a damage. Okay? Sedenid v'sedeh zera. What happens if it's going to be a planted field, a plowed field, or a planted field? Put it in the plowed field and not in the planted one. But what happens if the same thing? Both of them are either not plowed, or both of them are plowed, or both of them are planted, or both of them. So he says, you go whichever way you want. So you see from here, it's muchach from this right that a mitzvah is not koneh mekomo. Because if you're going to say it's koneh mekomo, so do it right in the middle of the marketplace, in the middle of the, like the middle of the road. So says the Gemara, here we're talking about that he's already on the way, but he's on the mitzad. He's on the borderline, right? So therefore, since you could take him off from the mitzad because we don't want the ohel for the kohanim. So then you can put him whichever direction you want. These people that go out to war do not have to do netilat yadayim before seudah. Amar Abaye says lo shanu ela b'mayim rishonim. That's only mayim before. But mayim acharonim, it's a chova. Mayim acharonim, chova. Yeah. Amar Rechia Barashi says Rechia Barashi. Why did it say mayim acharonim chova? In the melech shesodomit sheyesh mesamet anayim. He says because the melech sodomit, which could chas v'shalom make a person blind. Okay. Amar Abaye says mishtacha bekurta kekura. He says they find the melech sodomit, right? Bekamuta shove legadim katan shel pri, mamash like a small thing betoch hakur, right, of kemach regil. So Amar Rashi says Rashi, kayin milchamai, right? Somebody that comes and he starts measuring salt, right, to sell it. Does he also have to do mayim achronim, or is it only after eating? So Amalei, he says halo mibaye. In such a case, you don't have to ask why. If you're going to do it, there's even a bigger chashash that you've got mayim, says melech sodomit. So because of that, you do have to do mayim acharonim. Next, we said in the Mishnah, midemai, right? They're not able to get in demai. The Tanam was learned on Mishnah, machilin et aniyim demai ve'tachsanya demai. You're allowed to give aniyim demai, poor people, or the achsanya you're allowed to give the demai. So mefurash, these are like achsanya. So Amar Ravuna says, Tana, we learned on the right, Bet Shammai says, machilin aniyim demai, you're not allowed to give the aniyim demai, ve'tachsanya demai, right? And also not the achsanya. Bet Hillel says, no, you can. Machilin et aniyim demai ve'tachsanya demai. Okay? So basically it comes out that it's a machloke between Bet Hillel and Shammai. Okay, next. We said that they're also exempt from Mile'arev. Right? What does that mean, Mile'arev? So it says over here, Amri Rav Yanai, they taught the Academy of Rav Yanai, Lo Shanu ele Rovei Chatzerot. That's only talking about Rovei Chatzerot. When we're talking about Rovei Tchumim, Chayvin, they are obligated in it. The Tanya B'chia, as Rav B'chia taught, Lo Kilan ele Rovei Tchumim Devar Torah. We're going to be Malkut for Rovei Tchumim, Mamash Mina Torah. So Matki for Rabbi Yonatan has, Lo Kilan Lav Shebe'al. Says what? Are you going to get Malkut, lashes, for a negative commandment that starts with the word al? Right? That means it doesn't say lo, it says al. Or is a person going to do it? Matkif. Right? So the Gemara is going to ask on that. Matkif, Rav Acha bar Yaakov asked Rav Acha, was there it's written al yetze ish mimekomo b'yom shvi? A person should not leave his place on the seventh day. So since it's written al yetze, do not go out, but it doesn't say lo. So what? Do you get lashes for such a thing? So says the Gemara, Matkif, Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Ela me'ata dichtiv, it's written al tifnu l'avot yudim. You're not allowed to turn to the avot and ideonim, which are the different types of sorcerers, right? You know, like black magic and things like that. Hachanami delol. Okay, what? You're not going to get lashes because it's written al tifnu instead of lo tifnu. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan hachi kasher. Rabbi Yochanan had this question: Lav shenitan lazara mita betin. This is considered a lav which is given for azara mita betin, right? Which, what does that mean? To the yisur of going out in the public on Shabbat. So that's like to the av melacha that you're going to be chayav mita. Any love which is given as zara mitabetin, you don't get lashes. So Rav says, Miktiv al yotzi. Does it say al yotzi? Al yetzektiv. It's written al yetze. So therefore, it's mashma that the yisur is only the yisur of tchumin, which is the yisur shembo mita. So because of that, it's not considered a lav shenitan lazara mitabetin. So you could actually get lashes because of it. Tadran alach mavui. Says the next chapter. Okay, Mishnah. Osin pasin lebiraot. So here we have a picture. I'm gonna. Oops. Over here. Says. Here it is. Okay, osin pasin lebiraot. Yeah. Okay. So it says over here, osin pasin lebiraot. Yeah. Arba'a diomdin ninin koshmona. So look, here you have to do, this is the biraot. Remember, it's like, right? So here it says, Be'er chafaru asen, this is bira. Okay, so it says like this is a pit, which has water. So what are you supposed to do around it? You're going to make 4 amudim, which are double, so they look like 8. So look, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, but each one of them has 2 sides. So since each one of them has 2 sides, it looks like there's 8 over here, not 4. Okay, Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, these words of Yehuda, right? Rabbi Meir Omer, Rabbi Meir says, it's the next picture, Shmone, you do have to make 8. Shenirin keshnemasar, that they look like 12. Why? You do arba diomdim and arba pshutim, 4 diomdim, which was like the first picture. So 1, 2, 3, 4 in the corners, and then you do 4 pshutim. Pashut means that if they don't turn, right, in between the corners. So each one in all the 4 directions, you have 1. Look, this is pashut, right? There's no turn. It's straight. The other ones is a diomdin. Diomdin is the way that it is. Okay. Says the Mishnah, Govhan asarat tvachim, the height, right? Which means the height of the pasim is minimum of 10 tvachim. V'rochban, and the width is going to be 6 tvachim. V'ovyam, and the thickness is kolshu. Ubenehem, now between them, kimlo shte revakot shalosh bakar. You have like the midat rochav of 2 tzimde bakar, that each one has 3 animals. So that's this picture. You see the 3 animals in one head, 3 animals in another head. That's what you need. Okay. Divrei Rabbi Meir, these words are Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says, yeah, shel arba, of 4 animals. Okay. Then it says, keshurot velo mutarot. That has to mean that they're tied together or not. Open up. Achat nichneset ve'achat yotzet. And one of them is going in and one of them is going out. What does that mean? One of them is going in, one is going to the shooter beam. Okay, fine. You have the picture?
Yeah.
No, that one, yes. No, but this picture about the Chanichnas Echad Yotzeh. That there's no picture. אחת נכנסת למקום בין הפסים ואחת יוצאת משם לרשות רבים. That means each one is the opposite direction. Oh, well, that's the picture there also. That each one is going the opposite direction. The animals are, the first group of animals are facing in, the other group of animals are facing out. That's the explanation. Okay? Then it says, mutar lakriv labe'er, right? You're allowed to bring to the be'er, which means that you could bring these pasim closer to the be'er in order to minimize the space. That's here. Mutar lakriv labe'er, that's the next picture. Uvilvad shete para roshav ruba bifnim veshota, right? Mutar. So that's this. You see over here? Look, this was the beginning. What did you do then? You moved it up. And now that you moved it up, it's closer to the water. That's going to be okay as long as it has roshav ruba. The head and the majority is inside of this space. Then it's going to become permitted. Okay? And then, wow, then it goes to Yutet Umet. Okay. So says the Gemara, right? Then it's going to be mutar. Sorry, I'm continuing the Mishnah. Yutchet Amud Aleph. Right? Le'archik kol shehu. Where it says, mutar le'archik kol shehu, right? Uvivad she'yarbeh bepasin. You're allowed to do it, right? To go without wherever you want, as long as you're going to have more pasin. Which means you have to continue adding in order that no space will be more than 10 amot according to Rabbi Meir, or 13 and a third amot according to Rabbi Yehuda. Because you can make it bigger and bigger and bigger. Because until now we said about smaller. So we said if you make it smaller, you need roshav ruba, right? The head and the majority of the animal inside. If you make it bigger, there's no problem. But you just have to continue adding on, whether it's going to be walls or whatever it is. If Yehuda argues, and he says at betzatayim, no, the maximum that you can do is until a betzatayim. Amrulo, they told him, no amru betzatayim gina v'kapef. So I thought that it's only going to be for a gina or kapaf. That's going to be a betzatayim. But if it's going to be a place where they actually live, or sahar, or a place also for the shmina behemot in the city, because the first one was in the fields and things like that. Or mutzeh. Remember, the mutzeh is the backyard. Okay, or chatzer, the front yard, or afilu bet chameshet korin, or even a place of chameshet korin, afilu bet asara korin and 10 korin, mutar. It's always going to be permitted. Mutar le'achik kol shehu v'vat she'yarbeh bepasin, as long as you're going to add pasin. So it comes out that they are arguing on Rabbi Yehuda, and this is going like the Tanakama. So
what are they trying to establish with those pasim?
It's like you're making the walls. So by the fact that you're making walls, now you're allowed to come and you're allowed to carry inside of it.
For painting?
No, not for a painting. They're trying. You're not. If not, then you don't have enough of the walls in order to carry inside of it. So because of that, that's what we're saying here. You're making these pasim in order to minimize the open area, in order to make it like a wall. So you're doing here. You can make it as big as you want, but you have to put more walls. Okay? Says the Gemara, Leima matznit in the lokacharanya.
These are the pasim, no?
Which ones?
That's what I said.
These ones are the pasim. The walls. Yeah? You were talking about the pasim on the road. No, not pasim.
That's why I'm saying what it...
No. Okay. Fine. So now it says you have it here. Mutar le'achik, uvivad she'yarbeh bepasim. These are the pasim.
Yeah.
Here, I'll show you the picture. As long as you're going to be marbeh bepasim. This picture here. You're allowed to make it as big as you want, as long as you continue adding these things. Okay?
So this picture has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, nothing to do. Now it goes to Yutet. It's you put away for another 2 days. Yeah, Leima matznit in the local Chananya. So says the Gemara, why don't we just say that our Mishnah is not like Chananya? Why? The Tanya was going to the Braita. Osim pasin lebor. You're allowed to make pasin for a bor. Vechavalin leshayara, and you're allowed to make the chavalin, which is again the chavalim, the ropes for a shayara. Chananya says chavalin lebor avalo pasin. He says no, you're allowed to make chavalim, but not pasin. So it comes out that our Mishnah that says that you are allowed to do pasin is obviously not like Chananya. So says the Gemara, even if you want to say it's like Chananya, bor lechud, be'er lechud. There's a difference between a bor and a be'er. Chananya was talking about a bor of mine. There's a difference between a bor of mine and a be'er. Be'er is a natural well. Bor is just a pit that you put water there. Okay? So says the Gemara, Yikadam. Some people say, for the fact that we didn't say Chananya Omer, Chananya says, there's no difference for Chananya between a bor and a be'er. Chavalin im. Pasin, no, that is the same halacha. You could always put chavalim, but not pasin. So lema matzitin. So why don't we just say our Mishnah is like Chananya? So says the Gemara, no, afilu tema, right, Chananya, even if you're going to say it's like Chananya, lemay de kamar, according to what we just said, Tanakama is answering him up for him. Okay, so says the Gemara, lema matzitin de lo Rabbi Kiva. When we just say our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Kiva. The Tanam was going to the Mishnah, echad be'er rabim, bor rabim, be'er yachid. Whether we're talking about a be'er of a rabim, or a bor of a rabim, or a be'er of a yachid, osin lahem pasim. You're allowed to do pasim. But a bor shel yachid, but a bor of an individual, osin lo mechitza. You have to make a mechitza. Kavo asara tfachim, 10 tfachim tall. Tiv Rabbi Kiva. These words of Rabbi Kiva. Vilu hacha, babayas. Ketani we learned. Lebiraot, lebiraoti, leborot. No, so it's only biraot, but there's a difference between biraot and borot. That's what it's saying here. So leborot, they didn't make the takana of pasim even for borot of rabim. So the Mishnah is arguing on Rabbi Kiva that he says you're allowed to make a pasim for a borot of rabim. So it says the Gemara, afilu tema Rabbi Kiva. Even if you're going to say it's going to be like Rabbi Kiva, ber ma'im chayim, the psikale. When we're talking about ber ma'im chayim, right, that it's 100%, fixed. We know the halacha, the psikale. So lo shna rabim, there's no difference. Meaning, if it's going to be a ber ma'im chayim, there's no difference, the in the rabim or not rabim of yachid. Tani bor mechunasim de lo psikale. However, though when we're talking about bor, it has to be mechunasim because that's not psikale the halacha. So therefore, there tani lo tani. We didn't learn the halacha. So says the Gemara, lema matziti lo Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. When we just say our Mishnah, like Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. The Tanam was learned to the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba says, "Enosin pasim ela levera rabim milvad." You're not allowed to make pasim only for a be'era rabim only. Vilu hacha ktani bebayas. We learned the biraot. Lo shna. There's no difference between rabim and yachid. So says the Gemara, afilu tem Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. If you're going to tell me it's Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, my biraot. What does it mean biraot? Biraot de alma. Biraot of other places, not biraot of the actual place that we're talking about here. Okay, we're almost done. We're just going to try to get at least to the bottom of the Amud, so that way tomorrow also we do another bottom of the Amud, and that way we catch up to Shabbat. So my Diyum Din, what are Diyum Din? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar says Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, Diyo Amudin. Amudin is an Amud, a pillar. Diyo is a zug. It's like a pareja, you say a couple. So therefore it has to be like a double one. That's what it means. That's why it's a double wall. Okay, Diyo lemenudeh. שבח זונית נתקלקל במידה 3 סעים. Okay, this is a whole mnemonic. Look at the bottom. It says Dio is two faces, menudeh, somebody nidui, Adam Rishon, Shevach, praiseworthy, Yonah in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bait, a house, that's mashmin divrei Torah, Sheted, Nitkalel. So each one is a mnemonic. So we're going to see. So it says the Gemara, Tnanat, we learned over there in the mind. Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol hashitin peturin, all the te'anim ra'ot, all the bad figs are going to be peturin from Demai. Chutz mina diofra, except for the diofra, which is very, very chashuv. And then we're going to say that an amaretz is going to be chasalav, he's not going to give maaser. My diofra, what is diofra? Marula, ilana said dio, an ilan which is giving off fruits. What does this mean? Dio perot b'shana, it's an ilan which is giving off fruits twice a year. What does it mean twice a year? Right, that's what it says. Shnaim pera perot. It's like 2 different times, 2 different seasons. I'm Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar. Says Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar. Dio partzuf panim. We're talking about 2 faces. Hayalo Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon had shnemar achor vakedem tzartani. That he created me at the front and the back. Achor vakedem. Achorai behind me and the kedem in front of me. Ketiv etzvet vayiven Hashem lokim et hatzela. Ravush velchadam partzuf and says it's partzuf. One of them says it was a zanav. It was a tail. Bishlam alaman amar kol. It's good according to the man partzuf tichti v'achor vakedem tzartani. But according to the Manda Amar, Zanav, that it's a tail, Maya Chor, what does it mean that to be from the back and the front? So, Rabbi Yami, like Rabbi Yami, it says Rabbi Yami, Achor, Lema'aseh B'Reshiv, the Kedem Purunu. When it says Achor Kedem, it's not of the human being, it's Achor is after the Ma'aseh B'Reshit, and Kedem is before the Puranut. So, Bishlema, I'm going to say it's going to be good, Achor Ma'aseh B'Reshit, Lo Yibro Ad Ma'aleh Shabbat, because it wasn't created until the Shabbat. But Vakedem, which is before the Purunut, which Purunut? If you're going to tell me it's a klala, but it was stated, but Tchilan Nitkalen Nachash. First it was Nachash, and only afterwards Chavad, and only afterwards the Adam Rishon, right? So therefore it wasn't, what does it mean? It wasn't before the Purunut Bichlal. It was before the Mabul. So therefore it comes out that the first one that's mentioned here is Nimchei Rishon is basically by Noach. So Bishlam Mandamar Partsuf, that's good according to the man that says it's Partsuf. That's why it says Vayitzer. I betrain Yudin with 2 yods. Vayitzer, that he created with 2 different yods. According to Mandamar, is that now there was just a tail. My Vayitzer with 2 yods. And so the Gemara is called Shumam like Pazis. Damar Shumam Pazis is like Shumam Pazis. It says Shumam Pazi. Oili mi yitzri, oili mi yotzri. When it says Vayitzer, it's woe to my creator and woe to my Yetzer, to my Yetzerara. Bishlam, right? So that's what it says here. Bishlam Mandamar is good according to Mandamar Partsuf. I do the Zachar and Keva that he created them like a Zachar and Keva. But according to Mandamar Zanav, it was just a tail, right? My Zachar, where's the Zachar and Keva? It was only a male with a tail. So it says the Gemara Lechdir Behu, like Rabbi Yavud. Amar Rabbi Yavud says Rabbi Yavud. Rami Bizi asked the question. It's written Zachar and Keva Beram. That Zachar and Keva Beram, he created it like a Zachar and Keva, and it's written Nuchti V'Tzel Elokim. But I told that he made him like Tzel Elokim. How does this work? Really wanted to make 2 people in one shot. Ulva Sovan at the end, HaKadosh Baruch Hu only made 1. So Bishlam, let's go to Mandamar that says Partsuf. Hainu Dichtiv, that's what's written, that they're going to close the flesh above it. But according to Mandamar, that is Zanav. What does it mean, Vayisco Basar Tachtena? You're going to close the flesh above it. What's going on? So Amar Zid, the Yitem Rav Yirmiyah says, some says Rav Yirmiyah, the Yitem Rav Nachman, Yitzhak, Lo Yitzchak, Makom HaChet. We're talking about the place where they actually cut. Okay, so which means that over there we're talking about the closing a place which was cut, which was the tail. So Bishlam Zanav, it's good according to Mandamar Zanav, that's what's in Vayivin. But according to the Mandamar that says, right, that it was according to Mandamar that it says it was a Partsuf, my Vayivin. What does it mean Vayivin? He didn't build anything. Fine. So says the Gemara, okay, look, so it says Bishwan Zanav, that's good according to the Mandamar that says Zanav, because that's what it's written Vayivin. But according to the Mandamar that says Partsuf, my Vayivin. What does it mean Vayivin that he built it? It's like Shomam Nasya, the Daish Shomam Nasya, Vayivin Hashem Lokim Tzatzelam, Elamet Shekila Kosh Baruch Hu Lechava. When it says Biniyah, that's what we learned about making braids on Shabbat, if you remember. You're not allowed to make a braid on Shabbat because it's Domele Binyan. What's Binyan? When he went and he braided the hair of Chava and she brought him to Adam and Ishon, Shekeka Chayayam, Kodin Kalita Binyata. Right, so that's Vayivin. Davar Acher, another explanation. Vayivin Hashem Lokim Amar Chasam Amar Matid Tanem Lamet Shekos Baruch Hu Lechava Kibinyan. He made her like a building, Otzar, like Otzar Atva. Ma Otzar Ze Rachav Milmata Lekatza Milmata. Just like it's more thicker, it's wider on the bottom, and then it becomes skinnier on the top. So too, the woman is Rechava Milmata. She's going to be wider on the bottom, right? And she's going to be thinner on the top. Why? In order to receive the child. Meaning, because if not, the child will just fall through, imagine, right? So therefore, what does it have? That the bottom area is more wider in order that she could receive a child, right? It says on Amud Bet, is there anywhere where to stop? It says, by Viel Adam, she brought him to Adam Rishon. He became a Shushbin. You know what a Shushbin is? Like the one that, like he's like a shomer, the one that takes care of the Khatan. So he was like the Shushbin for the Seudah. So from here we learn, right, because here it says Shushbin is a reya, is a targum, is a translation of a friend, a yedid. So Shushbin, that's the best friend, right? Or that's what they call it, no? The best friend, best man. The best man. The best man is like the best friend, okay? So that's a Shushbin. So it says here, so here you learn that even a gadol will become a Shushbin Takatan, because obviously HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a gadol klape Adam Rishon, okay? But you shouldn't look at it negatively. But according to Mandamar that it's a Pasuf, which one came first? And if you're going to tell me it was 2 faces, a 2-face, but not the way that we picture 2-face, half face here, half face here, half face here, half face back. So the question is, which one came first, the front or the back? So the Zachar Sagresha, it's probably the man came first. The time we learned to write, a man should not come behind a woman in the derech, but even if it's his wife. If you found her on the bridge, so go to the side. But if you go after behind a woman in the river, he's not going to get a lamba. Why? But since she's going into the river, she picks up her skirt to go through it, and then everything gets revealed. So they don't get a lamba. Okay, we learned to the Braita. If somebody's going to give money to the woman, he's going to receive money from the woman in order to look at her fingers. Afilu domer Moshe Rabbeinu, even if it's going to be like Moshe Rabbeinu shekabel Torah min Sinai, that he received Torah min Sinai, lo yinakeh min adina shel Gehinam. He won't be cleansed from the judgment of hell. Right? Which means, that's what the Pasuk said, Yali lo yinakeh ra. Lo yinakeh min adina shel Gehinam, he won't be saved from Gehinam. Amar Rav Nachman says of Nachman, Manoach Amaretz Hayam. Manoach was actually an Amaretz. Manoach was the father of Shimshon. Shneimar, it says in the Pasuk, Vayakov elech Manoach acharei ishto. He got up and he went behind his wife. So Matkif for Rav Nachman Yitzhak el Me'at, according to is Legabei Elkanah. Dichtiv, it's written by Elkanah, Vayelech Elkanah acharei ishto. Hachanami, you're going to say he was a Rasha. So he says, or by Elisha, Dichtiv Vayakov elech acharei. He went up and he went after the Shunammite. Hachanami, you're going to tell me the same thing. Ela, but rather no. When it says he went after her, it doesn't mean he walked behind her. It meant he went after her advice. He followed her advice. Right? So Elkanah went after her advice of his wife. Amar Rashi says, according to Mandamar, but that which Rav Nachman said, Manoach was on Ma'aretz, right? I feel better of Nami lo kara. He says, what? You didn't know that? He didn't even know the Pesukim. That she went after the man. That means the women go behind the men, not in front of the men. So Amar Rav Yochanan says, Look at the Siyata Dishmaya. Look what we're learning. Yeah, how do you guys understand this? What does that mean?
Put yourself in danger.
Means even if you go after an animal, don't go after a lady.
John Jack and Yamin both said the same thing, that you should be. It's preferable to go after a lion to put yourself into danger, but don't walk behind a woman. However, though,
it's a married woman.
A married woman, yes, we're talking about a married woman, but there's a hint. You know what the hint is? The hint is, what is the mazal of Av?
Ari.
Aryeh. The Aryeh, the lion. What is the mazal of Elul? Betula, a woman. Acharei Ari velo acharei Isha. We have to do teshuvah during the month of Ari, the Aryeh, and not afterwards. Don't wait afterwards. Don't wait until Rosh Hashanah after the Betula. You have to do it after Av. Already, Elul, you're already doing teshuvah. Very apropos, no?
Very nice.
The truth is, though, that I don't remember who says this, though. Somebody says this. I don't remember who it was, though. I can't find anything here. Where is this? 11? No. I remember this somewhere. I read it somewhere. So it has to be written somewhere. It has to be... Okay, but Lina, I'll try to look it up and I'll tell you guys. But anyway, it's better to go after behind a woman and not a goy. Why? Because maybe you're going to do avodah zarah. Okay? So therefore, you have to be careful. But behind the avodah zarah, not behind a bet knesset when they're praying. Why? Because since he's passing by, it looks he's like a kofer. What? You don't go into a bet knesset? You have a bet knesset, you're not going to go inside. I just heard last night, somebody goes to me, yeah. You know what? I go. You know the guy. He goes to restaurants. He goes to everywhere, but he doesn't go to the Bet Knesset. So what's the difference? He says what? You can't go to the Bet Knesset. You know, you don't get the virus in a restaurant. You don't get it in Publix. You don't get it anywhere. But Bet Knesset, no go to Bet Knesset. What's going on? Yeah, kofer. That's what he says over here.
Olam hafuch ra'iti.
Olam hafuch ra'iti. We actually learned yesterday in Lichot Tkiat Shofar that if you have a person that's a tokea, that he doesn't do tefillah b'tzibur, you're not allowed to have him as a tokea. Mm-hmm. Why? He says because Tkiat Shofar, the Gemara Masechet Rosh Hashanah says, it's domeh to the Kohen Gadol that shenichnas lifnai v'lifnim. So he says a person that has a Bet Knesset in his city and he doesn't go, says the halacha and Shulchan Aruch. The Gemara brings down, but the Shulchan Aruch brings it down as well. That what? He's considered a Rasha. So he's a Rasha. How could it be the Bal Tokea? He's a Kohen Gadol. Chas v'shalom. You have to take him away. From here we learn about Tokea that doesn't come to Tfilah b'tzibur, off. Powerful. It's not a joke. Tfilah b'tzibur. Ve'amar Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, says Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar. Yeah, exactly. It could be very nogea. It says Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, Kol otan hashנים sheyadam harishon banidui. All the years that Adam Harishon was in the nidui, holid ruchin v'shedim v'lilim. He gave birth. He had ruchin v'shedim v'lilim because of the shivkat zera. Shneimar vayichi Adam 30 u'mat shana, 130 years. We look at the door because that until now it wasn't like that. So says the Gemara. 1 second, Meitvei, we are going to ask a question. Rabbi Meir says, "Adam Yishor Chasid Gadol." Why? He was a Chasid Gadol. Kevan Sherash was Mitah Yudo. Once he had the mitah, once he saw that it was a knas given to him that he was going to die, Yashab B'Tanit. He was in Tanit for 130 years. Upiresh V'nei Isha, and he separated 130 years from his wife. Ve'elaz Zirzet Teinim al Besaro. So he put on Zirzet Teinim, the different chagurot of Tena, for 130 years. So he separated from his wife. So how did he have ruchot? Says the Gemara, Ki kamnina nahu b'shichvat zera dechaz le'onseh. Even the shichvat zera that he saw, the honest, force majeure, that it just came out on its own. That's what it means, that he was noholid, right? Ruchin v'shedin v'lilin, all types of mazikim. Ve'amar Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, says Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, miktzat shivcho shel adam omrim b'fanav, kulo shelo b'fanav. You only say miktzat shvachav in front of a person. Meaning when a person's right in front of you, you only say a little bit. Once he's not there, you say everything. You're allowed to say everything. Right? Miktzat shvachav shel b'fanav, tichtiv zritin ki otcha ra'iti tzedek b'fanav b'dorozeh. Says, when I see you that it's tzaddik, kulo shelo b'fanav dichtiv, noach ish tzaddik tamim yeh b'dorotav. But he was a tamim yeh b'dorotav, which means that since he says tzaddik tamim, right? Noach ish tzaddik tamim, but in front of him, he didn't call him tzaddik tamim. Only call him a tzaddik. You're a tzaddik. But tzaddik tamim was only when he wasn't in front of him. Okay, what does it mean when it's written? That it grabbed, when the Yonah came out, it grabbed an Eleh Zait. Remember, first he sent out the raven, right? And then it was the Yonah. And the Yonah came twice, right? So it says it got Eleh Zait. What does that mean? It says over here, right? Amra Yonah l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel Olam, yu mezonotay merudim kezait, umsurim yadecha, v'ayu mutukim bidvash, utlim b'tzav adam. Says Yonah, I prefer that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that my mezonot is going to be mamash bitter, but as long as it's given in your hands, that instead of that it should be being sweet, right? And remember, because the olives are bitter, but he says it should be sweet like a honey, but it should be given to a human being. Meaning it's always better that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that gives us parnasai, even though we have to work for it hard, and that should be so sweet, but we're getting it from a human being. Ketivach, it's written over there, taraf, right? That he grabbed it from the tree. He cut it off from the tree. Hatifeni was means that you give me the maspik of mazon, right? Sapekli mazon. Hatrifeni, yeah. Hatrifeni lechem chuki. It's in Mishle. But there, the explanation is sapekli mazon. Give me mazon. So the word teref natan li de'av. The word teref, right? 10 lechem lefi. No, there we say lechem lefi atavdot sofa. But no, but there's teref also. So there it's teref natan li de'av. So teref is mazon. Sapekli mazon, to give him money. No, sorry. Teref is to give. It's sapek. Okay? Teref natan li de'av. So teref he gave, right? You gave him the maspik. So li de'av. V'amar Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar says, Kol bayit shenishmeim bo divrei Torah b'layla shuvenu nechrav. If you're going to have the divrei Torah I heard in a house in the nighttime, it's not going to be destroyed. Shenemar, ve'lo amar hayeh lo hay osai, noten zmirot b'layla. Right? Well, it's a pasuk in Iyov, which means Michi noten zemirot, that you hear the zemirot, the call of the Torah, so then you're not going to need to say, hayeh lo hay osai, that what is God doing to me, that he went and he destroyed the house. The Amr Rabbi Yirmiyah was destroyed. It was already enough that HaKadosh Baruch Hu only uses 2 letters of the name of Yud Ke Vav Ke, which is he only uses letters Yod Ke. Okay? Dayola Olam, it's enough for the world. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu will only use 2 out of the 4 letter name of the Hashem Furash. That means that the name of Hashem is Yud Ke Vav Ke. He's only going to use Yud Ke. But it says which means Kol Neshama Kula, which is all the Bnei Adam, are fitting to use the Yud K. So it's mashma that the Vav K is only going to be when it's going to become fulfilled.
Because when the Vav K nistaleku and only nishar Yud K.
The Vav K went away.
Nice.
Right? The Vav K went away. It's going to come back. And that was one of the explanations, if you remember, in Masechet Berachot of Gimel Amud Aleph. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah? What am I talking about over there?
Yes.
What's written there in Gimel Amud Aleph?
In the Masechet Berachot?
Yeah.
It's not that the share is in 2 parts, no? The kisei of Kadosh Baruch Hu.
If you remember, very good. The Tosfot there, because there the Gemara speaks about somebody that's answering a mini Yishuvin Abba. You remember that he waited for him, and then he heard the voice. He was in the Churbah, And Eliyahu Navi told him that every single time that Bnei Israel come and they say Amen Yeshua Abba, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu
Right.
So there Tosafot says that's the explanation in Amen Yeshua Abba. There's two explanations in Shemer Abba. Amen Yeshua Abba means the great name, or Yeheh Shemeh Shem Yud Kei should be Rabbah, should be great. Which means we are praying that in the future when Mashiach should come, we're saying that the name of Yud Kei should be Rabbah, should be complete. How is it going to be complete? With a Vav Hey coming back to it. That's Yeheh Shemeh Rabbah. Shem Yud Kei should be Rabbah. Okay, so that's also. When Bavel was cursed, so too the neighbors were cursed. Right? But when Shomron was cursed, the Shechenim were actually blessed.
I like his.
You like this what?
Yeah, I'm telling you that what he said about the Khurba is. But isn't they told him Eliyahu Navi like he not to go alone anymore?
No. You're right. He told them don't go into Khurba because of the three suspicions, because of Chashad, because of that it's going Mapolet, and because of the Shadim, right? The three different Mazikim. Three different reasons why you shouldn't go into Khurba. But what he did learn from it was this Yisod. And it's in the Tosfot there. Open up the Gemara Masechet Berachot and Tosafot there. Mamash, the last Tosfot on the page, if I remember correctly. It was on the left, right? I don't know if it was the last one. It was on the left. So that Tosfot on the left, he has it over there. I don't have a Gemara here, but if not, you open up a Gemara Masechet Berachot, on the bottom left, it's talking about there the Tosafot there.
So what is
Okay.
this Shomron?
So the Shomron, we have to see like this. When Bavel was cursed, because Oil Rasha Oil Shchino, 26, it just brings in a Gemara in Sukkah. So apparently it was cursed Bavel, so too was cursed the neighbors. But when Shomron was cursed, Shomron was the Ira Melucha Shel Malchut Yisrael, of the 10 tribes. So when we actually say it, Shomron Kol Tite na 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 na. One of the kinot is on Shomron. So Shomron was one of the Malchut Yisrael of the 10 Shvatim. It was one of the cities. So when they was cursed, the neighbors were blessed. Why? To give a bigger punishment to Shomron. So you don't have Tzarat Rabim. Wow. You understand? When it was for the Goyim, which was Bavel, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Oy la rasha el shcheno. He cursed Bavel, cursed the neighbors of Bavel. To do with Bnei Israel, if it was Shomron cursed and also the neighbors, so then they wouldn't have done Teshuvah. Why? Tzarat Rabim, Chetzi Nechama. The fact that everyone's suffering, so okay. It's a pandemic in the entire world, not only here. So okay, no big deal. But if Shomron is the only one which is suffering, and everyone else around them have beracha, they're going to feel so bad, they're going to do Teshuvah. So that's why he said it was Nidbarecha Shechenea. Itkalla Bavel, Itkalu Shechenea. So now we're going to bring the pasuk. It's written in the pasuk in Yeshaya, Vesamtia lemorash kipot ve'agmei mayim. Asim et Bavel nachalat hakos, which is like a type of a tzipor taref, ulbeitzot. All right, so it says over here, it's going to put it like a type of a bird. That's going to kill its prey. So Bavel nechreva nefcha lemkom chayot raot. The mamash wild animals, everything came inside of Bavel. So he said, "Nikalla Shomron beruchu shchenei." Diktiv v'samti Shomron le'i hasadeh, to mamash like chorvot basadeh, right? Lematay karem, right? That's when it was destroyed. So then it became like the karem, which means that the other ones were actually going to be blessed. And we continue Bezrat Hashem tomorrow.